I know Mike Julian came in, but I didn't see him. He's still out with, Wednesday afternoons. He goes out with Steve Lavoie. They were out. They had a busy schedule today, so
Yeah.
I don't know where they were.
All right, is it going? All right, good afternoon. Welcome to this Fire Station Building Committee meeting of Wednesday, December 15th. Veterans Room, roll call. John Sugar is present. Deputy Chief Hewlick, Jack Jovian, and Captain Jeff Matthew. I know Dave Langevin sent me a message asking to be excused. I'm not sure where Mike is and Mike Julian. So, all right. So, approval of meeting minutes of December 1st.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain. Okay. And then now meet with Pomeroy again to discuss the fire station project contract, update on project status, and next steps, actions to be taken relative to project management, design, development plans, and site acquisition, and any other related information, take any action on site. Welcome.
Excellent, welcome.
So,
Happy to be back, and we have some good updates to give everybody tonight. Michael McKean is here from Castle Booze as well. And then online here, we have Rick. He's still posted up recovering, can't really get off that foot yet. And Bob Mitchell is on from Mitchell Associates, and he's up in New York. So, so what I thought, Bob, is, I just wanted to, if you could, just give an update on the project program and schematic design that you're working on. Just give everybody an idea of, kind of where you're going with that and what your plans are. I know we have a meeting coming up in 2 weeks, so if you just give a quick update on that, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, well, thank you. Are there any of you who don't know me from back in 2018? Do I have to introduce myself that, or what? How are we with that?
No, everybody should have been
sorry.
on the project at that point.
yeah. The only one would be the
Okay,
town
great.
manager,
Okay.
but he's not in the room right now. So. Okay.
Okay, so we've been reviewing the program and the floor plan with Deputy Chief and some of the members of the committee, I guess it would be called. I've been started working on, I guess, playing with the layout. I'm starting with the areas under the mezzanine to take advantage of what we know about clearances for the equipment and the typical steps by which tasks occur in those spaces. And we have the outline of the building from option 7 that we're working within, and working to look at all the spaces in the building from the point of view of what was in the programming process in 2018 and the constraints based on size limitations that we have today, and looking to see that the flow through the building is as logical as we think it should be, and working, and we'll be presenting some stuff back to the committee on the 28th for their comment and review. Every time it gets played with, certain things get modified, sometimes for the better, sometimes they get a little more convoluted in terms of travel path, or any individual room might be a little, either grown a little or squeezed a little. So I'm going back through them to see if I can come up with the most logical compromises between the spaces to get you guys to have the most you can have, the most effective layout, the most efficient individual spaces, and keeping in mind, what we know about clearances about the equipment. I guess that's a long way to say not much, but that's what I'm working on. It requires, I like doing it at 5 in the morning before the day begins, and try to keep people at arm's length, because there's a lot of integrating of thoughts about, is this space really more effective next to that space or next to the other space? And when you carry something through a space to some other space, what do you really want to see happening? So that's what I'm working on. Very much conscious of the currently agreed upon square footage and the constraints of the site, and looking forward to bringing something to the table at the meeting on the 28th that we can all talk about.
Thanks, Bob.
So
Do you want to add anything,
that's
Mike?
what I'm doing.
Well, just that we're, looking at the site, we have gotten quotes for Geotech and the traffic study. They are now included in our revised proposal. The traffic study is just a study. Depending on what the recommendations are, then there's a design component. But he will be estimating the cost of any improvement as part of what he's doing. And the Geotech, we have his services through CDs, not their construction, only because we have a number from him. But what happens is he bills against the number as he comes to the site, the number of times he comes to the site, and that can vary widely depending on how efficient the contractor does his work. So this is sort of more of a not to exceed number. So we would carry it as what I suggested to Taylor, that they carry, as part of the $120,000 for additional services and and reimbursement, then we carve out a part for the Geotech services during construction administration, and we'll bill against it as the need be.
Yeah, we just got that updated proposal from KBA maybe 2 or 3 hours ago, Mike.
Yeah.
We've been hammering it out. So I sent that to Mike McCall, and he's going to go through it, and I'll share it with everybody here as well. But we wanted just a chance to go through it to make sure that if it needs to be revised again, then you're not looking at a one that needs to be revised a few times. But I think we're pretty much there. It is just below what was carried in the original OPC that was given to you before, so I don't really see too many issues there as far as the value. And that's with the added geotech and traffic study in there, so we should be in fairly good shape there. And I think that brings up a good point too. But really, our critical path, I'll go through what we have as a milestone schedule, but critical path is the site. And in order to estimate this correctly at schematic design level, we need to have really a go-ahead or a green light from the town that says, this is going to be the site, go ahead and move forward. And we're looking at drop dead time the end of January. And hopefully we can get some assurances, from the town that that's the plan. If not, that we might have to move forward with a little bit of risk, knowing that they might do some work and things may change on the site, and they might need to do some redesign. We're not there yet, but just to make everybody aware, hopefully we can get this site stuff ironed out so that they can do an ironclad schematic design. Because out there on the street right now in the bidding environments, it's crazy. With the coming off of COVID, coming back into COVID, nobody quite really knows what it's going to do. So we had a long talk today with Castle Booze about what we really want to do is get a good schematic design, estimate it, and see where we're at. See how that differs from where you guys were when you estimated this back a couple of years ago. Things have changed. There was escalation built into that. There were contingencies built into that, which is great. But now we have to put it up against the market, and that's the COVID market. And so those are all the moving pieces that we're talking about. And again, we had a kind of a long talk about that today with Castle Booze. They're on the same page as us. Part of what Bob Mitchell is going to do is look at how he can save some square footage in some areas. Again, I feel there's probably some areas that can be brought down. You don't lose any program functionality. Maybe get rid of some travel areas and get that kind of fluffed down. So he's looking at how to do that without you guys losing anything. So that's the kind of the overview of design right now. So if I continue through our agenda here, our contract is closed. Go ahead.
Could I interject, Taylor?
Yep.
I just want to make sure that and I'm not being there, I can't quite tell. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that the logical steps moving forward is to get what you have right now that was brought to town meeting is relatively one-dimensional. And the design needs to be refined. The schematic design components of that need to be needs to be more information. The engineers need to be engaged so that they can start evaluating what types of systems would be used in the building and put together some narratives. And all of these elements would be gathered up and provided to the estimator, and they would, estimate the project. And we don't want to go too far with that until we know that we're actually going to be building at this location and with the type of layout that we're talking about. Because if things were to change, then there would, redesign would be required and re-estimating would be required. And that's what Taylor was mentioning as risk. What we're trying to avoid is that risk. We feel pretty good that right now Bob is going through his adjacencies and refinements of the plan that was presented at town meeting. And then we're going to be in a little bit of a holding pattern until we get a little bit farther with the sites to make sure that we're going to build in this location. And then we will cut KBA loose to complete their schematic design so that we can estimate it. So we're hedging our bet right now, because until we know exactly that we're going to be on this site, we don't want to incur too much cost that would have to be done over again. Does everybody understand kind of where we're at?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, next, just a housekeeping item. Our contract is all set and closed. I think we're just waiting on one more insurance certificate to send over to you, Mike, but...
Yep. I actually got the insurance certificate today.
Oh, good.
And I'm sorry it wasn't sent over to you, Michael, but we'll get it over to you. We've been able to work things through with our insurance company. We're paying a little bit more for the insurance, but it's giving you the level that you would require for the additional insured. And so I had also, the changes that town council had suggested, I had accepted. So I think, I believe that we're all done, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, this is Michael in the back. Yes, we should be all done, and what we just have to do, and I think I may have sent an email to my admin as well as the chairman today, just to say that, and then maybe included the committee chairman, Mr. Joanne, that the next step is I got to get it on the appropriate subcommittee, which I'm wondering if it's PPP because it's a fire station, or is it?
I don't know, we'll have to talk through that, but...
So the next full council meeting to ratify this and allow me to sign it would be January 10th. And it just has to go before one of the subcommittees before then. And I anticipate at that same time we would be addressing the award on the environmental as well as the real estate. And, we'd get them all done at once.
When is that scheduled for, do you know?
January 10th.
Oh, okay, so we can't get started with the investigations until after January 10th?
What investigations?
The environmental and the appraisal.
I don't know. I'll talk to the council chairman and see what we can do to speed that up for timeliness.
Okay. Yeah, the way, the timing that we had in the RFQ was that we were looking for them to deliver us completed information by the end of January.
Okay.
With the thought that we could issue them some sort of approval to proceed before the first of the year. If that can't happen, it can't happen. It's not the end of the world. But I could care less about our contract, but I'd like to get the consultants started with their investigations to help this site decision.
All right. I'll talk to the council chairman about trying to speed it up with the town manager.
It doesn't kill the schedule, it just, any little bit helps.
Yeah.
And not to jump too far out of order, I'm sure you have your agenda. Both Rick and I spoke with one of the property owners on Snow Street, the one that's somewhat reluctant. I had a reasonable conversation. I think Rick had a better conversation. She may be warming up to the idea that this is going to happen. I did send out all the licenses to allow us to go on the properties for the appraisals and things. I did already hear back from one of the property owners, said that they're gonna look at it and get it back to us in short order. I'm sure either Rick or I will touch base with the others just to make sure, but that's just helping to expedite that process.
Yeah, Rick, do you want to talk a little bit about the conversation you had with that owner? You don't have to mention names, but
I don't know. I think Michael has done a good job. I think that she has. I really enjoyed the conversation. She seems very genuine. It's just unfortunately they're going through a lot, especially during the holidays. And she had asked if we could reconnect after January 1st, and I told her that I'm sure that was more than fine.
excellent.
Okay.
Sorry, we're just kind of jumping through everything here and kind of wiping everything out at once. But next was the designer status, and like I said, we got that revised proposal today, and that's being reviewed, and we'll review that. Mike, I sent that to you. You got it, and so we'll get back to the committee on that once we reviewed it. The land acquisition status. So the environmental phase 1 RFP that was sent out, we got 2 back on that. VHB and Tie and Bond, and the appraisal was also due the same day, and we got 1 back on that. Rick, while I was traveling, Rick was able to kind of dive into the appraisal one, the Howard S. Dono one. Rick, didn't seem like you had any issues with that.
Yeah, I thought it was a good value what they were presenting, and I sent Michael an email on that with my thoughts.
It came out to what, about 2,000 a property?
Yeah.
No, I saw Rick's email. Sometimes I'm just flying. Just because I didn't respond doesn't mean I didn't read it. Generally, you get an immediate response if there's going to be a negative.
Yeah.
The one I have a problem with is the environmental phase 1.
Yep.
The 2 proposals are about as far away from one another as they can be. And so I'm going to need some time to qualify them both. And, I would not recommend, there was one proposal that was extremely low.
That was Tie and Bond. They were 5,000.
Yeah.
And then VHP was 20.
I think it's too low. And my guess is that there'll be a lot of extras along the route, or we're not going to get what we're looking for, one of the 2. So, but I should be able to have those qualified, Michael, by the end of the day tomorrow, so I can make a recommendation to you on that.
Okay. The VHP just asked about, did we want a price on a phase 2? I said you can include it. It wasn't, they just asked, they said, can we put it as an add-on just so you know what our phase 2 was? Because we said if needed, but they just threw that in there. I think we're really comparing apples to apples on the phase 1, but they threw that in there just to give us an idea of what a phase 2 would cost.
So for
I thought that was Michael. I thought that was an excellent approach because there's certainly going to be phase 2 work required, especially at 129 Worcester. And so I think that they actually reviewed the state, local and state and federal records, and so they developed what they thought would be necessary for that phase 2. Just so everyone's aware, a phase 2 environmental site assessment, generally the process is you conduct a phase 1, and then your findings from the phase 1 would determine as to whether or not a phase 2 would be appropriate. And if someone automatically jumps into a phase 2 before completing the phase 1, I always look at it a little suspect because we don't know what we don't know just yet. That's why you're doing a phase 1. So I thought it was very good. I thought VHB put together a very good proposal, very detailed and fully scoped. And by adding the additional costs, it gives us an idea as to what we're going to be looking for. It doesn't mean we have to pay that. I'm sure we can negotiate those items. But I thought they did it was a well-rounded and well-rounded proposal from my perspective.
Do you have a question, Jay?
No, I'm just thinking things through. So we only had one
Appraisal.
appraisal. So that's why I don't know, maybe talking to the chair, that if it's just a one appraisal, subcommittee, what is the benefit of a subcommittee? And just put it straight up to council as a, we review it here and we say our recommendation is goes to council. But I'll talk to the chair on that, because if there's only one, what is there really to talk about?
And it seems fair and reasonable, so.
And it's fair and reasonable cost, and if you don't want to delay stuff, but I'll talk it through with the town manager. I don't want to usurp anybody's authority, but there's several councils that say, hey, just get it done and move forward. So we'll talk through that. So
You should have a copy. I sent that to you
I did
before
see,
I left. So
I was just busy on that other case,
Yeah.
so I
Nope.
did see the emails, but
and I was hoping if you could just, I
I'll
figured,
forward it.
forward it around to everybody. I didn't want to go around you, so.
yeah.
I don't want to
That's a very good point, Jack. And quite frankly, with regards to the making arrangements and agreements with all of the property owners, I think the most critical aspect of this whole process is the appraisals.
Right.
Because, that's what's going to generate the cost of value and what people will be paid for their properties. And that's what everyone's going to be sitting around waiting for. So the sooner we can get those appraisals started, the better off we'll be.
Okay. Town manager?
I don't want to speak out of turn or you put words in anybody's mouth, but there are several contracts, the OPM's contract, the environmental, the appraisal. There may be some snow plowing issues that we may have to pull off the table tonight, which we may want to address before January. So there may be enough to warrant a very brief interim special counsel for like 5 agenda items, maybe in the next 2 weeks. Just as a thought, if we wanted to try and expedite it, and I think most of the councilors knew, it's snowing, we got to get the plows in, and we want to get this process along for the fire station. Maybe, with some lobbying, we could get some. That's just a backup thought. Rick, you're not here, but the council members are all chuckling at my thoughts.
As he looks at the chairman of the council.
So can I add something to that? If you decide that that's what you want to do to push this along, just let me know, because I'd love to talk to, provided that it's okay with Michael, I'd like to, speak with the principals at the appraisal company and wet their beak a little bit and say, look, we want to go with you. We need to get started. It has to go in front of council, and they have a special meeting scheduled for, this date. Just so, with the way things are and how busy people are, I need to make sure that we get in their queue.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I can talk my way through that with them, provided I know that we're moving forward. We do it all the time with consultants and engineers. Let's get in the queue, because people are 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks out in some cases. So sooner we can at least give them a verbal, the better we'll be.
Yeah.
Does the committee want to take a vote, maybe like subject to a final review by yourself and committee on the proposal, or for the appraisal itself?
For the appraisal itself? Yeah, I'll entertain a motion that we recommend that the appraisal firm of Howard S. Dono and Associates be forwarded to town council for review and approval through the town manager. Is that okay, Mr. Town Manager?
Well,
What?
my suggestion would be, if we think it's in the best interest of the town of Southbridge and for this project to move forward, and we're contemplating not going to a subcommittee, I think I'm meeting with the chairman right after this to talk about the agenda for Monday night, which doesn't technically have to be posted till tomorrow. We might be able to.
That's why my recommendation was to go to town council, so he can determine how best he wants to do it.
Right, but what I'm saying is we could conceivably put it if we wanted.
Well, I would say that I would request the town council chairman to consider placing it on the agenda for Monday night so that we could get it in the queue. And then the worst case would be that a committee member wishes it to be referred back to subcommittee, if they so choose. But I could make the argument on behalf of the Fire Station Building Committee, or our colleague over here could, because he's so eloquent and well liked by the council.
You looking at John?
John Sugar?
He's not looking at me.
But, so,
And I'm not trying to, it's,
No,
the word
but-
usurp was used earlier. I'm just trying to think of ways to achieve the ends that we need to get to. And I understand, if, to Rick's point, we've got one, and I think I sent 6 out to 6 appraisal
Yeah.
companies, and probably 4 of them right off the bat said, "We are so busy, we'd love to help you, thanks." They know how I got the referrals from other towns.
Yeah.
They said, "We're just overloaded with the sales and the way the real estate market is and things."
Yeah,
So we're
that's right.
lucky that, we got at least one decent proposal. So to his point, we probably want to lock it in and get in their queue if we,
I'll put it in the form of a motion to request contract with Howard Dono and Associates and move it to council for consideration for Monday night's vote.
And in the meantime, if Rick's calling tomorrow, the environmental, and if he reaches out to the appraiser as well, he can also gauge that, and that if they're not ready and he lets us know,
Right.
maybe we pull it. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to put work on your plate either, Rick. I'm not trying to run the show from back here. I'm just trying to think of how to make the pieces fit, and I know you're moving fast too, so.
I'll second it.
Okay. So, any further discussion on the appraisal? All in favor? Okay, unanimous, all present. I would also entertain a motion based on the recommendation of the owner's project manager, Pomeroy.
Yep.
And the town manager, that if they select a firm, either we only have 2, VHB, and they wish to push that up to council and they feel comfortable for consideration for Monday night, that they be available to do so as well. Does that make sense? Then we can talk about it Monday night.
I love it.
Okay? Is there a second on, is there a motion on it?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Second? Any discussion on that? So, just for discussion, you can include us in the loop too, Joe and myself and town manager, if that's okay with the committee. We'll talk about whatever their recommendation is, and we'll filter that back to it. This is gonna be their recommendation. We can email it to the rest of the committee. The recommendation will be for Monday night, either one, if you're ready to do so.
Absolutely.
If you're not ready by tomorrow afternoon, then we just pull it. Does that make sense, Mr. Town Manager?
And if you wouldn't mind, just circulate what I sent, and then if anybody has questions, you can get them back to us, and so you guys have time to review it too.
And then that way that'll get in the queue. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Unanimous, well, President. Okay. That way we can get it on the agenda, and if they so choose to pull it off, then we'll.
Yeah, it just creates a placeholder in
Yeah.
case. But
Thank you.
And I'll be at the Monday night meeting to be able to talk to them. So.
All right, excellent. Next item is budget. We don't have any new budget update here. It won't really take place until we get through some estimating, but what we've started to do is build out our soft costs. So you had the original OPC that Castle Booze put together, and a lot of things were lumped in together there. So now we're accordioning that and making that a bit larger, and trying to put different numbers to actual items and budget lines. So we've started to do that today, with things like the traffic study and Geotech that's now part of KVA's, but we'll break everything out so you can see where it all falls. And lastly, we talked about this last time. I did.
Can I just-
Oh, go ahead.
Can I just add something to that, Taylor?
Yep.
I know that we owe you a funding forecast, and we're just completing our review, and we're gonna be discussing it with KBA, and we'll get it over to you as soon as possible, but we're not gonna be incurring a lot of funds until after the first of the year anyways, but it's on our list, and we'll get it over to you.
And also I passed out a draft milestone schedule. We talked about this last time. What we wanted to do was kind of just give an idea of where we were going and how that process was going to take place. This will continue to evolve. I'll continue to make revisions to this and get it as tight as possible. But we wanted to give you an idea of, really where your project would fall if it starts to move the way that we foresee it going. So, you're right in the area of the land acquisition right now. We have the appraisal that came in and the environmental. So as far as the land acquisition and the survey and document, those are all kind of estimates at this time, 60 days and 30 days. And again, as we narrow that down, I'll tighten that up. We have our schematic design phase in February to April. Geotech will be done around the same time in March. The schematic cost estimate. We have April now. We even talked today with Castle Booze. Maybe we can get that done by March. So again, this is conservative. And really just all the way through what we see, substantial completion for the building, which would be 2024. So you can follow through here, but again, it's just a stab at a schedule right now. This makes sense to us. So Castle Booze reviewed this and their consultants as well, and they felt it made sense as well. So any questions you have, you can get back to us. You can take time to review it, and we'll get those answered for you.
Any questions?
No, looks good, thank you.
Just one question, are we gonna have to go to council for everything we spend?
I think it's only because of the contracts, that's the only reason it has to go to council right now.
All right.
Because it's like, any contracts or service have to be approved by town council. That's in the charter, so that's why it has to go to council for the contracts to be approved. But outside of that, once we go out to bid,
So once the big contract's signed,
Yeah.
it's,
yeah,
all right.
yeah, then we're responsible as a committee for anything else. So,
The construction contracts and things will still have to go out later on.
Yeah, and then once we're in construction, what most communities do is they, relegate a number to the committee that if there's a change order, the committee can approve up to, 20,000 or 30,000 without having to go to the council. And the council makes that, that call. I'm 10,000. Usually it's 20 or 30 because you like to be agile but
we're laughing because it's a whole other conversation that we won't have this evening.
it can be, we can do the process however you'd like it. That's just usually what we see.
Well, I know what we would like and what others would like are two different things.
Yeah.
So, any other discussion? Anything? All right, so, okay.
I'd just like to add a clarification. I mean, it is true that we worked on the RFP for the survey. In fact, I think that's already been sent to Pomeroy, but I may be wrong if there's something still going on.
It was. I don't think it was completely filled out.
Okay, all right, so he will finish that at the end. But in consultation with essentially the CEO of our company and insurance, we can't include survey work in under our insurance. And it's because we don't oversee it. All the professionals, the engineers, we oversee their work, but we don't oversee surveyors. That's a different. You're going to have to do that contract directly with the town. Again, we're helping out with the RFP, and we certainly don't mind helping you select, make our recommendations once you have those in. But we can't really carry that within our fee.
Yeah, we have the RFP from David, Castle Booze's landscape engineer, who's putting that together, and then we'll work with Michael to get it out, and we'll get quotes the same way we did for the appraisal, environmental. Not a problem.
So you're meeting on the 28th with Bob Mitchell. Is that here?
On Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Anything further? Anything from you guys?
No, I think that's it.
Michael?
The only other thing I wanted to ask is when you are scheduling the next building committee meeting, because I will be out of the country until the 12th, from the 2nd to the 12th of January. I'm going away, which I can't avoid. And you could certainly have a meeting and.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, we'll
and
probably,
to come.
we had said every 2 weeks, but I don't know if a 2-week meeting, well, you know, we had the holidays and everything, so.
It's the 2 weeks is the 29th, and the next one out is the 5th.
Yeah, it might get. Yeah, the 5th might be the best, just because it might get dicey with.
Yeah, I'm not for the 29th, I'm on vacation.
Holidays
that
in
week
there,
and all that,
yeah.
So.
What time would your meeting be on the 5th?
What, you have a meeting on that night?
We have a special meeting, don't we?
Yeah, we meet at 4:30. Our meetings are always at 4:30. That's the standard time for our meetings, 4:30.
What's the meeting?
Time review.
So I'll make sure that Kevin gets that.
Okay.
Okay, so January 5th at 4:30. 2022.
I'm with him, I won't be here.
You won't be here? Okay.
Rick or Bob, anything to add before we close here?
No, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
And thank you guys for the opportunity to work on this. It's how I have fun. So, but
Yeah. All right. I'd say a motion to adjourn.
okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor? Opposed?
question.
Thank you.